it and it goes down.
In 2012, Washington State voted to regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana. I was for it. Well, the evidence keeps coming in. Our new approach is working. Month by month, tax dollars are going to schools and police, not the drug cartels. Wasteful arrests are way down, DUIs are down, drug prevention programs are getting funds. Strict regulations are working. Here, it's really better already. It's your vote, not mine, but it's working here.
Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just like cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's 4:02 in the Pacific Time Zone. Time for Toker Talk Radio. Also time for a puff off my Thai Stick vaporizer pen. I'm getting really excited about the debate tonight at Portland State University. I'll have to dash out of here real quickly to catch a bus to get down there. Features Anthony Johnson versus Josh Markey, and Speed Limit in the chat room makes a really good point that Josh Markey's talking points and logic and reason are extremely flawed, but he is not as a debater. He's a very skilled debater. I mean, he's been a district attorney for even longer now, like 20 years or something, 18, something like that. And so he's been in front of the cameras. He knows how to handle the public. He knows how to handle the media, and he can come off quite well to that segment of voters that we're trying to get right now. I mean, we got the young people on our side. We got the liberals and the Democrats on our side. No problem there. But this is a midterm election. And typically midterm election voters are older conservative people. And so it's going to be important for Anthony to put together the right kind of arguments and the right kind of comebacks to Josh Markey that don't leave us looking to that demographic as if we're just the reckless devil-may-care stoners. Now, Speed has put up that probably Josh Markey is going to go heavy on that smuggling weed into prisons angle. And I really hope Anthony's got a quick debunk of that, because the real quick debunk is to point out that it does not repeal the Class C felony for smuggling weed into prison. It adds a ticket for accidentally bringing weed into prison without the intent of smuggling. So I think that's the debunk. We'll see how that goes. Another angle they're going to attack is that there's not going to be any limits on advertising. And Anthony can shut that down real quick. In fact, when the No on 91 press conference, when we were streaming it live, Anthony chatted in a question, if I could ask a question, what would it be? And he chatted in, ask the No on 91 campaign why they keep lying about there being no limits on advertising in Measure 91 when Section 7, Paragraph G clearly gives limits to advertising, gives the OLC the power to prohibit any advertising. Clearly. Now, the rejoinder to that, the response to that could very well be that, and this is the Kevin Sabet response, but it won't stand up in court. Big Marijuana will sue it in court because we have a First Amendment. It'll never stand up in court, which is a really flawed understanding of the First Amendment. The First Amendment is not absolute. It's the old, you can't yell fire in a crowded movie house, even though you have freedom of speech kind of thing. You can't slander. You can't libel, right? You can't defraud people. There's all sorts of limits on speech. And when it comes to commercial speech, there's all sorts of limits on that too. There's limits as to what time you can play certain ads. That tobacco ads and alcohol ads can't be, on billboards within 1,000 feet of a school, or you can't run them between certain hours or on certain TV channels. And the First Amendment still exists. There are no less than 6 federal laws that restrict the commercial advertising speech of the tobacco industry. Really. All the way back to the Tobacco Control Act of 1964, mandating that they put warning labels on the cigarettes, all the way up to, I think it was in 2010 when the last of these acts passed, that said that audio and video commercials for cigarettes couldn't have any color. They had to be black and white. And just letters and numbers. They can't have cartoons and sound, no music. There's all sorts of restrictions on alcohol and tobacco advertising. And the marijuana industry has proven to be more than willing to accept advertising restrictions on its product that are far more restrictive than the advertising restrictions on alcohol and tobacco. In Washington State, you can't put up a sign for your marijuana establishment. The only sign you can have for the marijuana establishment, it's dictated how big it can be, what size font it can be, what kind of font it can be, and what it can say. It can only say the name of your establishment. Really? Can you imagine a bar that would put up with that? I drive through Portland. I see bars that have neon cocktail glasses hanging off them. There's a bar right across from my studio, right across Sandy Boulevard. It's called the Pirates Cove. Look it up on Sandy Boulevard in Portland. The Pirates Cove. The building is shaped like a giant whiskey jug. Swear to God, giant whiskey jug. Marijuana doesn't want any of that. We're not fighting for that. We're cool with our walled-in stores with frosted glass windows that no one can see inside and tiny little signs, maybe a green cross, maybe. We're fine with that. We don't want to advertise to the kids. We just want to stop being treated like criminals. That's what we want. And if you want to hear this debate, remember, it's at 6:30 p.m. tonight on OregonLive.com/marijuana. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Sir, do you think there will or should come a time for us to discuss the possibility of legalization, regulation, and control of all drugs, thereby doing away with the violent criminal market as well as a major source of funding for international terrorism? Thank you so much for your time, Mr. President.
Well, I think this is an entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Name the time and place, Mr. President. Radical Russ has been prepping for this debate full-time since 2005. The Russ Belville Show.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with the TuneIn Radio app for all mobile platforms. Go to rad-r.us/420tunein or just click the TuneIn Radio icon below the live radio feed on.
In all my years on the streets, it's hard to recall a single time where marijuana use itself was the cause of a violent incident. As a police officer, I do believe that passing ballot measure 2 will allow law enforcement to focus on serious issues in Alaska. To me, the regulation of marijuana means safer communities. I'm voting yes on 2.
This communication was paid for by the Campaign to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol. Top contributors are Marijuana Policy Project, Drug Policy Alliance, and Thomas.
Hello.
Hello.
I am John.
I'm Scott.
We're from a cannabis broadcast.
And you are listening to 420radio.org.
Cheers.
Voting yes on 2 will allow doctors to recommend the medicine they feel will ease the pain and suffering of thousands of sick Floridians. Yes on 2 allows medical marijuana use under the strict supervision of a doctor, only for debilitating conditions and diseases such as cancer and MS. 23 states now keep government and politicians out of the doctor-patient relationship. and it's worked. Vote yes on 2 and trust our doctors to do what's best.
Science is the best tool ever devised for understanding how the world works. Science is a very human form of knowledge. We are always at the brink of the node. Science is a collaborative enterprise spanning the generations. We remember those who prepared the way, seeing through them also.
If you're scientifically literate, the world looks very different to you. And that understanding empowers you.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson, my favorite astrophysicist. My favorite living astrophysicist. That's The Poetry of Reality from Symphony of Science. Check them out at symphonyofscience.com. Great science-related auto-tune music. Also puts together, the guy who does that, Melody Sheep, puts together some really good PBS-related ones too, like Mr. Rogers or Bob Ross. Good stuff to watch. Check that out. It's Melody Sheep on YouTube or symphonyofscience.com. Welcome back. You're listening to Toker Talk Radio. I'm Radical Russ Belville. And tonight is the Measure 91 debate, the Great Oregon Marijuana Debate, the Great Oregon Pot Debate, I think they're calling it. And it's going to be live 6:30 p.m., so it's about an hour and 20 minutes away. It'll be on K2 here in Portland, which is the ABC affiliate, Channel 2. 702 for you cable subscribers if you want the high def version. And I'm going to be DVRing that as well to get some audio clips for you tomorrow. But it features Josh Markey, the district attorney for No on 91, and Anthony Johnson, the chief petitioner for Yes on 91. We're talking a little bit about the talking points that we're likely to hear from the opposition campaign. And the number 6 talking point they've got on their screen in their little PDF from voteno91.org says, research shows that for every $1 the government receives taxing harmful substances like alcohol and tobacco, it spends $10 in social costs. That is true, because alcohol and tobacco are toxic and addictive. It gets so old having to debunk that every single time, but yes, that stat is absolutely true. Marijuana and alcohol and tobacco, do cause more social damage than they bring in taxes. Absolutely correct. What does that have to do with marijuana? Absolutely nothing. Marijuana is neither toxic nor highly addictive. It's such a ridiculous claim. It's such poor logic that it's sad that anyone still buys it. But I was watching can't remember what I was watching, but the news or something, and they were doing like man on the street interviews about marijuana or whatever. And whenever they talk to a civilian out there who's not, obviously not part of marijuana, politics like we are, but just an average person on the street, when they find an average person on the street who's against legalization, one of the first things out of their mouth is that, marijuana is a gateway drug. It's just amazing. The gateway drug has been debunked as early as 1999. 15 years we've debunked the gateway drug theory, and people still buy it. So when the other side offers these things that aren't logical, and it boggles your mind as to how can anyone believe this crap, remember that people still believe the gateway theory. 85% of drug users only use marijuana. I'll say it again. 85% of drug users only use marijuana. And 91% of them do not develop any sort of tolerance issues or dependence issues with it. So they know if you take away 85% of the drug war, there's not much excuse left to fight the drug war. Especially when the 15% that's left, the cocaine, the meth, the heroin, not only is there so few people to go after, but it's harder to go after them. Cocaine, meth, and heroin aren't big and bulky, and they don't smell like pot. There will be no possible way to continue pursuing the war on drugs the way they pursue it now, with the budgets and all the manpower they use. No way to justify that if you take away the 85% who are simply marijuana consumers. So yeah, you hear this illogic and it's hard to believe that it still works, but it does for a lot of people. The No on 91 continues by saying, Oregon won't make money if the government spends more on the social costs of marijuana than it makes in taxes. That's right. If the government spends more on the social costs of marijuana than it takes in taxes, yes, there'd be a problem. But we're considering taking in $17 to $40 million a year in taxes. Already we've heard the No on 91 campaign say that you can't get a teen into drug treatment in Oregon because there's no treatment beds for them. And we're talking about giving you 25% of $17 to $40 million. That's $4.25 to $10 million a year for drug treatment, prevention, and mental health. And you want to use the social cost argument. Okay. They also say Measure 91 allows growing marijuana at home. Why would people buy it in a store and pay taxes when they can grow it at home for free? And they actually sourced this to learn about SAM. They actually sourced it to Project SAM, as if Project SAM's like a scientific outfit. That's a good question, No on 91. Gee, why would I buy tomatoes in a store when I can just grow them for free? Why would I pay taxes on that? Why would I buy beer in the store? And here in Oregon, we don't have sales taxes, but you got to pay a 5-cent bottle deposit on every bottle. So why would I buy a 12-pack of beer in a store when I can just home brew it? See, the only answer I've ever heard them give for that is, well, home brewing beer is difficult and anyone can grow marijuana. They call it a weed for a reason. All you can do, put a seed in the ground and get some wheat. Yeah, sure. If I throw a seed in the ground and wait for the sun to tend it and then harvest it and smoke it, I might have some weed. Just like if I take some Welch's grape juice and put it in a container in a dark, warm place for 6 weeks with some sugar and yeast in it, I might come back and have some alcoholic beverage. But my weed and my grape juice, fermented grape juice, is not going to be confused for Super Silver Haze or Chardonnay. Okay? It is not easy to grow good marijuana. And most people are going to want to buy their marijuana in the store. They're not going to want to grow it themselves. And besides, we're only allowing 4 plants per household. If you're in a household with like 4 college roommates, somebody's going to have to buy weed at the store. And their final talking point, I really hope they go there. New Approach Oregon's claim that 12,000 people were arrested for marijuana-related crimes in Oregon in 2012 is false. 2,754 people were arrested. Don't you love it that their defense is, well, we didn't arrest that many people. We really only arrested a fourth of the number of people you said were arrested. It was really only about a fourth. It was really only about 2,700 people's lives who we ruined and gave a permanent black mark whenever they try to get employment, housing, loans, job security clearance, professional licenses, etc. It was only about 2,800 people. It wasn't 12,000. It was only 2,800. You know, there's only 0.1% of people in state prisons for marijuana related offenses for their first time violation. You know, it's only 0.1%. And you know, it was only, 3% of the Africans that were brought over from Africa in the slave trade to be slaves in America. It was only 3%. Most of the Africans never got brought over. And it's only like 1 out of 12 gay people that ever gets, beaten and killed, or 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 50. It's really not that many. What kind of defense is this to say, well, it's only a few people whose lives we ruined? If it's only one person who was arrested for marijuana in 2012, it's one too many. Only 2,700 people were arrested for merely possessing or using or growing marijuana. Okay, how many people were arrested for merely drinking or home brewing beer? Oh, it's 0, huh? The beer people didn't get arrested unless they got in their car and wrecked into someone or something, right? Yeah, got it.
What are you people? On dope?
You also gotta love it. A lot of the no people still call it dope. It's like, I don't know anybody. I mean, dope is heroin, right? I don't know anybody that calls marijuana dope. Just shows you who we're up against. It's the dying cries of the prohibitionist dinosaurs as they sink into the tar pits of history. Happy 420, everyone.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with the TuneIn Radio app for all mobile platforms. Go to rad-r.us/420tunein or just click the TuneIn Radio icon below the live radio feed on.
The war on marijuana is wasteful, and it hasn't worked. The time and resources available to law enforcement in Alaska is limited. And to waste any of that time or money on marijuana is using a hammer to go after a mosquito. It's just crazy. I spent a career in law enforcement in Alaska. I'm voting yes on ballot measure 2.
This communication was paid for by the Campaign to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol. Top contributors are Marijuana Policy Project, Drug Policy Alliance, and Thomas Cody Swift.
The doctor has the right to prescribe OxyContin or any type of prescription like that. They should have the right to recommend medical cannabis for that same patient.
In the 1980s, my mother asked me to help a friend of hers who was terribly nauseous and vomiting every single day from her treatment, and my mother begged me, since I was a young adult, could I find marijuana for this woman? And it's a crime that even all these many years later, we still have to illegally get this treatment that really makes a difference for people.
The real concept is Amendment 2 would allow for medical decisions to be made by doctors instead of politicians.
We're asking you to please vote yes on Amendment 2 November 4th because there are patients that need medication in this state and they deserve it.
I am.
United for Care.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio. The Marijuana Business Association, or MJBA, are proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show. It is the mission of the MJBA to establish integrity and legitimacy, create common market standards, provide market intelligence, and develop best ethical business practices for participants in the emerging legal marijuana industry, including commercial hemp, medical marijuana, and recreational marijuana for adults. Learn more about the Marijuana Business Association and visit mjba.net to join today. That's mjba.net.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Electric Tuesday, featuring the latest in electronic dance music and other cutting-edge genres. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
Welcome back, everyone. 24 and a half after the hour, and we got Electric Bob on the phone for our Electric Tuesday. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing good, and I wanted to apologize for not being here the past 2 weeks. I've just been super, super busy.
Oh, tell me about being busy during election season, man. I totally understand. But last week we did play that original tune of yours, and I wanted to thank you for putting that together for us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm producing music now, and I'm helping run a record label, and I'm doing a blog. So I've had a lot of stuff on my plate lately.
Right on, man. Right on. Good to hear it. What's the link if people want to check that stuff out?
It's the blog is Puff Puff Pass, and the record label is Dark Till Dawn Records. I'll link everyone in the chat, and you can check us out on Facebook. We're on Facebook. We don't have any websites yet. We just started all this.
Oh, very cool. Well, keep us posted as to how things go. We want to help promote you any way we can.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Right on. So how are things going in Arizona lately? Everybody there must be looking at what's happening with legalization around the country and just getting ready for 2016, I suppose.
Oh, yeah. I'm in Arizona's for Safe Cannabis something, and I don't know if you guys know of Dennis Bulkey. He was the head of Safer Arizona here. I think he's working with MMP to get it on the ballot in 2016. It's so early right now. We still got 2 years on our plate.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep our eyes on Arizona because I think you guys will definitely fall in 2016. Let's get to
No, we are for sure. I'm putting 100% on that.
Right on, man. Be glad to welcome you to the club. All right. Let's get to our tune today. Looks like you've got Aries Force Beats. Have I got that right?
Yeah, Aries for Rice. He's just a beat producer out of Germany who I've been listening to for a while. He does a bunch of different stuff. He does like every song of his is a different genre almost. This is one of his more kind of dubstep wubby, just really chill, just one of those songs you just want to smoke and lean back on the couch to.
All right. Well, let's get into doing that for our 420 break here on our Daily Toker Tunes for this Electric Tuesday. Electric Bob's got you Aries Force Beats, and the tune is called Dreams. Thank you so much, Bob, and we'll talk to you next week.
No problem.
You can get 420 Radio on the go with the Ustream video app for Android and iPhone. Go to rad-r.us/420Ustream or just click the Ustream app icon for Android or iPhone below the live radio feed at 420.
Mike Schwab is a former middle school science and math teacher. Currently, he works with Children Daily as an after-school program leader.
Currently, kids have easy access to marijuana with little understanding of its impact. We can take better care of our kids through Measure 91 with strict regulations and funding for proven marijuana education and prevention programs to keep kids from using it. Under our current marijuana laws, one mistake can ruin a life. Measure 91 removes unfairly harsh punishment for marijuana offenses and gets more tax money to local police and drug prevention. Vote yes on 91.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com. 420radio.org is proud to replay Cannabis Network Radio with David Kowalski from Tampa, Florida. In-depth coverage from the front lines of the struggle to legalize cannabis from David Kowalski, a veteran activist fighting in the Deep South. Catch the replays Wednesday at 12 Pacific on 420radio.org.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com and follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher.
I'm Lori Constantino, former Chief Prosecutor for the state of Alaska. As a retired law enforcement official, I know our current marijuana prohibition laws just aren't working. In fact, they've caused far more problems than they've solved. It's time for Alaska to take a more sensible approach. That's why I'm voting yes on ballot measure 2.
I'm Bill Parker, former Deputy Commissioner of Corrections in Alaska, and I'm voting yes on 2. For me, it's a matter of public safety. We have limited law enforcement resources, and they should be spent addressing serious crimes, not arresting thousands of Alaskans for marijuana.
And I'm Kim Cole, a local high school teacher and a mom, and I want to see marijuana handled in a way that actually benefits Alaskans. The marijuana industry should be managed by responsible businesses and not criminals. This means safer communities, revenue for the state, and jobs for Alaskans. I'm voting yes on 2. This communication was paid for by the Campaign to Regulate Marijuana Like Alcohol. Top contributors are Marijuana Policy Project, Drug Policy Alliance, and Thomas Cody.
Never
All right, folks, that's Spock, S-P-O-C-K, with Never Trust a Klingon, the 2000 remix. I had to take a little bit of a pause there because I was in a Twitter battle. Scott M. Gagnon is the head of Project SAM in Maine. We go back and forth from time to time. And lately, I started this latest battle with him because I was actually apologizing for our side. I was apologizing for us because of this story that's coming out of South Portland, Maine, that the no on pot people, right? Because they've got a city ballot initiative to legalize, right? That the no on pot people in South Portland have been putting out their signs, SOPO, no po, I guess. South Portland, no on pot. They've been putting out their yard signs and they've been getting stolen and vandalized. And I put out a tweet to apologize to him. I said, hey, man, I'm against that. See, I'm all for free and fair elections, and I love free speech, and I think the answer to free speech is always more free speech. And I like having this debate. I want people to have yard signs and have a free and open electoral debate on this. So any of you idiots out there in Maine that are stealing signs or defacing them, knock that shit off because it doesn't make us look any good. So I reached out to him to apologize about that. So he reached back. He tweeted back to me, thanks. Now, how do you feel about publicly challenging police chiefs to drinking contests? Now, if you don't know that story, we mentioned that earlier, where the head of the legalization campaign challenged a police chief there in Maine to a drug battle. It wasn't really a drinking contest. It's a drug off. Because this police chief issued the lame opinion, not backed by science in any way whatsoever, that marijuana was as harmful or more harmful than alcohol. Right? And of course, everyone knows marijuana is less harmful than alcohol. So to draw attention to that point, David Boyer from the Maine campaign out there challenged the police chief that I'll go hit for shot. I'll take a hit, you take a shot. Let's see who's standing by 7 o'clock. Right? Now, this is a PR stunt that has been perfected by Mason Tvert out there in Colorado. Right? So it's not new or anything. But apparently Scott's upset about it. How do you feel about publicly challenging police chiefs to drinking contests? And I'm like, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. If it highlights what an idiotic statement that police chief made. And so I also, what else did I reply on him? I said, come on, Scott, even you have to admit marijuana is far safer to the user and society than alcohol, right? And you know what his answer to that was? False dichotomy. We aren't choosing one over the other. We are just adding marijuana to the menu. Well, isn't that a dodge? The question is whether or not marijuana is safer than alcohol. And he says it's a false dichotomy. We're not choosing one over the other. I didn't ask that. I asked marijuana, whether it's legal or illegal, as a substance, is physiologically safer and sociologically safer than alcohol. It is a demonstrable, objective fact. Now, if we want to argue about whether it should be legal, that's, a whole nother talk, Scott. But whether or not marijuana is safer than alcohol is a fact. And this stupid response, we're adding marijuana to the menu. You're pretending marijuana isn't on the menu now. See, these prohibitionists live in this fantasy world where it's like, don't ask, don't tell. If we don't see it, it's not really there. If we officially say it's illegal, then it's not there. Dude, marijuana's already on the menu. It's already the third most popular thing on the menu. It's already on the menu. The dichotomy isn't whether or not marijuana should be on the menu. The dichotomy is not whether or not alcohol is safer than marijuana. The dichotomy is who runs the marijuana market. Criminals or businesses. That's it. Those are your choices. There's a third choice. You could say the government. I'm willing to entertain that choice. There is a marijuana market. Marijuana exists. Marijuana will always exist. People will always want to smoke marijuana. And therefore, there will be a market for it. You cannot wish away or repeal the law of supply and demand. Someone's going to grow it. Someone's going to sell it. Someone's going to smoke it. Given those facts, and again, objective fact, given those objective facts, who's going to control the market? You got three choices: criminals, government, or business. And that's the thing that for me, they always say, Kevin Sabet's all about the third way. It doesn't have to be the too hard prohibition and the too soft legalization. There can be a third way. Great. Tell us it. Tell us that third way. Love to hear it. What is this third way that does not involve criminalizing drug users, sellers, producers, and sellers and producers and traffickers? What is the third way that neither criminalizes them nor commercializes them? And the only third way I can think of is government. But yet, I never hear these guys advocate for a Uruguayan-style solution. The Uruguayan solution is that the government is the grower. The government grows the weed, the government sells the weed. Now, I wouldn't appreciate that model. I don't think it's the right model. I think it would suck. It would suck less than prohibition, though. I think the proper model is free market. I think the proper model is a strictly regulated free market, but a free market nonetheless. But they never give that other option. They say it's a false dichotomy, and yet they cling to the dichotomy. They cling to the prohibition. Now, they'll soften it up a bit. Well, users shouldn't get a criminal record, and they shouldn't go to jail. They should just get a referral to an evaluation and a rehab and a P-test and drug classes and other things that will make money for rehab professionals. And notice they're always talking about the user. They're never mentioning what we do with the grower, the seller, the trafficker, because they want to keep that criminal. So we continued, and Scott replied that the drink off, the drug off with the police chief is a lame gimmick and is going over like a lead balloon here, which I'm okay with because it helps my cause. Well, I don't know how much accuracy we can attribute to that statement as far as it's going over like a lead balloon here. I mean, if here means the Project SAM offices in South Portland, perhaps. If it means amongst the people in general, I don't think you're qualified to make that statement. But we continued. I said, sure, I'm sure your friends think it's lame. And he continues, and this is where the song in our break came in, and I had to start typing because I could not let this drop. I could not let this drop because he said, first, right now I don't have pot shops in my state selling gummy bears and THC Fruity Pebble snacks. I'd like to keep it that way. Dude, marijuana's decriminalized in Maine. You can have up to 2.5 ounces of it, and you can grow up to 25 plants. There's plenty of marijuana in Maine. Maine still has one of the highest rates of youth use of marijuana. Do you think people aren't making brownies and cookies and cakes and edibles now? And when they do, it's handled by their grubby, unwashed hands in an unsanitary kitchen. We don't know what the potency of that edible is. We don't know how it's labeled. We know nothing about it. But they exist, dude. And where do these people live? And maybe this tells us something about the type of adults they are. But what kind of adults do they know and run around with that hate gummy bears, that hate cookies, that hate brownies, that hate edibles? Where are these adults? Because when I look at the obesity rates in Maine, and for the rest of the country for that matter, I see a lot of people who like gummy bears and cookies and cakes and candies and brownies and sodas and ice creams. And I'll bet they like to have pot in it too. These edibles are flying off the shelves in Colorado where only adults can buy them. So obviously adults like them. Obviously adults want them. They're not marketed to kids. Adults like good tasting food. This idea that the only edible that we should be giving to people is bland and tasteless and colorless, lest we attract the kids, falls a little flat when I see advertisements for Bottles and James wine coolers and strawberry lime-aritas for Budweiser and all that. It's a little bit flavored vodkas. Come on now. course, they would say, well, see, that's our point. There's mass commercialization. He continues by saying, it's all about mass commercialization because of course it is. We're in the USA, right? Rookie cookies, hooking more newbies. And that's the one that just pissed me off. That's the one that really pissed me off. Y'all bitched like crazy when Maureen Dowd ate a cookie that had 6 or 7 doses worth of marijuana in it. Had 6 or 7 recommended doses, and she got couch lock and paranoid and freaked out. And y'all bitched and complained. Oh my God, how are you supposed to know what the level is? You're supposed to break it into 16? That's not the way I eat chocolate. Ha 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 ha. You bitched and moaned about super potent edibles. So the industry reacted responsibly and started creating rookie cookies, these little 5 milligram cookies, started creating these Dixie One sodas that are little 5 milligram sodas, and now you bitch because these are supposedly supposed to hook the kids. Well, gee, Jesus, we can't win, can't we? We make them too potent. Well, my God, it's going to kill people. We make them not so potent. Oh my God, you're obviously trying to hook the kids. Aren't you the ones that are always complaining, it's not your father's Woodstock weed? And yet, when we go and make Woodstock weed, the less potent varieties, you bitch about that too. Come on now. Let's get realistic about this. What this fight is really about is culture. It's a culture war. It's a culture war. They don't like that some people get high. That's simply what it is. They just don't like that some people get high. They don't like the kind of people they are or that they think they are. They don't want their kids to have to answer tough questions from their kids. It's the same kind of mindset from behind people that don't like gay marriage. Oh my God, what will I tell my kids? How about the truth? Kids aren't stupid. How about you just tell them the truth?
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel?
The Russ Belville Show reminds you to never smoke and drive impaired. Hang out for a while. Share.
.420 Radio is 24-hour marijuana legalization radio.
Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Very effective. Check out LushLEDlighting.com right now.
Hi, I'm Richard Harris. I'm the former director of addictions and mental health for the state of Oregon. Drug treatment and prevention are woefully underfunded right now. Measure 91 will better fund drug treatment and prevention programs. Marijuana isn't going anywhere. We're not stopping it with the war on drugs. You have to remember that marijuana is a pretty benign drug. It doesn't have the usual dependency features of, say, heroin or alcohol abuse. Now, marijuana feeds drug cartels and fuels violence. We can crack down on that. Take the money from drug cartels and, by the law, spend it on law enforcement, treatment, and education. Criminalizing marijuana is just no way to solve the problem. That's why treatment people like me are supporting Measure 91.
New Approach Oregon is a coalition of Oregon citizens who believe that treating marijuana use as a crime has failed, costing taxpayers millions in law enforcement resources. Our approach will regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana for adults in Oregon. We can move Oregon forward and create new revenue for critical services. Visit our website at newapproachoregon.com or our page on Facebook at New Approach Oregon. Thank you.
everybody. 52 after the hour, and got another reply from Scott Gagnon. I'm pulling up the data right now to rebuff him. He says that Maine does not have the same extent of edibles that they have in Colorado. Well, perhaps, because they do have the medical marijuana dispensaries and so on, but I just thought it'd be interesting to look up and compare the rates of use between Maine and Colorado. And according to 2010-2011, 7.6% of teenagers in Maine used marijuana in the past month, compared to 10.4% in Colorado. All right. Fewer kids are using marijuana in Maine than they are in Colorado. Scott Gagnon thinks, though, that to keep it that way, adults should be harassed by police. See, this is where me and these guys, I think we all agree we don't want kids using marijuana for non-medical purposes. I think we're all on the same page there. I think we can find agreement there. But the question is, how do we reduce that among kids? Or how do we prevent it or teach them about it? And my point would be that it doesn't matter whether legalization, let's just pretend for a second, that legalization would drastically raise the teen rate of marijuana use. Let's pretend that for a second. And I don't know what definition of drastic is. How much percent? Doesn't matter. Let's just say drastic in your mind, right? Let's say we legalize and there's a drastic raise in the number of teens that are using marijuana. Would that be an argument to not legalize? If that's their argument for not legalizing, if Scott Gagnon and these Project SAM people are making that argument that we've got to keep punishing adults, because if we don't, there'll be a great rise in teenage use. If that's the argument, then the counter argument should be, if we do legalize and there's not a great raise in teenage use, you don't get to use that talking point anymore. And what we've seen in Colorado and Washington is either steady or declining rates of teenage use after legalization. So you don't get to use that talking point anymore. But let's pretend. Let's pretend that we don't have evidence of that. Let's pretend that Colorado and Washington don't exist. And let's pretend that we do legalize marijuana and there's a drastic rise in youth use rates. More drastic than the rest of the country, right? The rest of the country stays steady or whatever, and the legal states, it drastically rises. Let's pretend. I still don't think it's a valid argument for punishing adults. If an adult is an adult, if an adult is a free person and a citizen of the United States of America, then that adult has the right to do with their damn body what they choose. If a woman has a right to do with her uterus as she chooses, I have the right to do with my brain what I choose, so long as it does not harm others. And given that we've accepted a right to use alcohol, and I believe it's accepted as a right, because if you look at the 21st Amendment, man, it's in our Constitution. It allows for the transportation of intoxicating liquors. The word intoxicating is actually in our Constitution. If we've accepted that, then it is a violation of equal protection, in my opinion, to treat cannabis consumers worse than beer drinkers. Now, it's a novel legal theory, and I doubt I could ever get it anywhere in court. But that's the way I read the Constitution. That I can't be treated differently in this country from state to state based on the fact that I might be a Mormon. I'm actually baptized Mormon. I'm really an atheist, but I'm baptized Mormon. And no state should be able to treat me differently just because I was baptized Mormon. No state should be able to treat me differently just because my skin is white. No state should be able to treat me differently just because I have a Y chromosome. No state should be able to treat me differently because I'm right or left-handed. There's all sorts of reasons why we should be able to have equal protection in this country. And I believe that our use of cannabis should be one of those as well. I believe it's an inalienable right. Our Constitution was written by a bunch of hemp farmers who lived in an agrarian economy. To them, I can't imagine that farming a crop couldn't be seen as an inalienable right. It'd be such an obvious right that it would be ridiculous to write it down. It'd be like us writing down, you have the right to surf the internet. Well, yeah, of course you do. Everybody does. What's the point? Yeah, unless you're a sex offender convicted, you can't surf porn or whatever. But, other than being convicted of a crime, of course you can surf the internet. You have the right to breathe air. Well, yeah, of course we do, right? So why would the founding fathers write down that you have a right to farm hemp? When they were paying their taxes in hemp, when they were writing the drafts of that Constitution on hemp, it'd be as plain as the nose on their face. It wouldn't merit mentioning. So I get a little upset, and it's the reason I'm here and the reason I keep doing what I do, because I believe that we deserve equal rights. This isn't about whether or not we're choosing to get high on marijuana or choosing to use it as medicine even. It's about equal rights with beer drinkers and cigar smokers. If we've accepted that there is burning plant material that stinks, that some people like to inhale, and we've accepted that there's this powerful, intoxicating drug that some people like to drink, we've figured out in our society how to deal with smelly, noxious smoke and how to deal with powerful, intoxicating drugs. And why not just apply those rules and limits to a kind of smelly drug that's kind of intoxicating? I know you're with me. We'll see if we can get everyone else to agree with us. The Measure 91 debate is next, coming up in just a half hour, or actually an hour and a half. It's only 5 o'clock. Sorry, an hour and a half. Oh, now that I think back, all those time cues I made were an hour off. Oh my God. Anyway, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, live on OregonLive.com/marijuana. For everyone here at 420 Radio, I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.